Texas A&M returns to action in non-conference play as they welcome New Mexico State to College Station. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between A&M and New Mexico State. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. This segment brought to you by our friends over at RHOBACK. Go to RHOBACK.com, use promo code SECU and sign up for 20% off your first purchase. That's RHOBACK.com, promo code SECU to get 20% off today. The Texas A&M Aggies, fresh off their bye week, come back home and welcome the New Mexico State Aggies to College Station in a non-conference showdown Saturday night at Kyle Field. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. I am Chris Phillips, and helping me do so, my good friend Dave Shumate joins me once again. Dave, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time and excited to break down this non-conference matchup with you.
Like you mentioned, see, we don't get a lot of Ags on Ags crime here. There's not a lot of Aggies out there. We got a lot of Tigers, we got a lot of Bulldogs, but I'm glad we're getting to see the agricultural geniuses get together and get after it on the gridiron. Not a great New Mexico State. This is not Diego Pavia, Tim Beck. New Mexico State, it rolled into Jordan Hare last year and beat the Auburn Tigers. This is a 2-7 club with wins just over SEMO and an overtime win over La Tech. So not a great team rolling in. A&M coming off the bye week after the disappointing loss against South Carolina, but I don't really think it's like a killer. Again, I think a lot of people are like, oh, A&M's going to A&M. It's like, they just played two tough SEC games back-to-back. They played LSU in an emotional win, then had to go on the road to Williams-Brice Stadium, old Willie B, in a tough environment at night, and they took an L. So it is what it is. Maybe they got off the ground, off their bye week. They get another chance against not a very good team and their Aggie brethren. But it all kind of comes down to the trip at Auburn next week, and obviously the big one. And not only just because you're rejuvenating that rivalry against Texas, but as we mentioned a little bit off air, you have a lot of playoff implications. But I think this is a depth game, longer season. I mentioned it earlier when we were breaking down Bama Mercer with Cole. This is a game where these coordinators want to see some of these reserves get some film on tape. They want to get some reps on tape for them to evaluate to see who they can trust in the back end of the season. Because like we said, the A&M could certainly be playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship if they went out and playing 4 extra games in the college football playoff. It's a longer season. You need more guys you trust. You got to get on film to see if you can trust them to put them out there in critical situations. I think this is that kind of game for Mike Elko and his staff.
And, Dave, you mentioned what's kind of interesting is you mentioned off air. Coming off the bye, it feels like for whatever reason we haven't talked about A&M in forever. That South Carolina game feels so long ago, but certainly that's the last time we saw the Aggies. They went to the bye week, licked their wounds, obviously, and they'll have a chance to rebound. And everything is still in front of Texas A&M, Dave. That is the key. As we talked about the college football playoff rankings the other night, everything's in front of them. A&M with just one conference loss can still make it to Atlanta, can still get where they want in regards to the playoff. But it starts, I know, again, it starts on Saturday night. New Mexico State team that you should beat, you're going to beat. You're a 40-point favorite. We'll get there in a second. But to your point, Dave, very important when it comes to depth, very important when it comes to building momentum. You kind of feel like your new season, Dave, starts now. So, again, this game taking place 6:45 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the SEC Network there in College Station at Kyle Field. A&M is a 39-point favorite, Dave. As I mentioned, the over-under is set at 54. These teams have met previously just once. A&M leads the series 1-0. That one meeting came in 2016. Dave, you may have been in College Station at that time. A&M won 52-10 back in 2016. Were you there or no?
No, I was at Auburn. I was there 17-18.
Okay, so that was just before our guy Shu made his way to College Station. So as we look at this game, Dave, again, we're not gonna overkill this one. This game's all about Texas A&M. To your point, you look at New Mexico State last couple games, just to give you an idea. November the 9th, which would have been last weekend, they lost to Western Kentucky by a score of 41-28. The week prior, they lost to FIU 34-13. You mentioned they got that win over La Tech. But, I mean, listen to the numbers, Dave, the totals they've given up points-wise to their schedule. 41, 34, 30, 54, 50, 31, 48, 30. And then they gave up 16 in game one against SEMO. So should be an opportunity for a lot of fireworks for Marcel Reed and that A&M offense. But I want to start there, Dave, because I think you brought up a really interesting point, something that may be going under the radar. Le'Veon Moss is out for the season. The Texas A&M running game, there's some questions regarding that. And that's something, Dave, you're going to need to be able to lean on. I think this is going to be a really interesting outing from the standpoint of we're going to start to get some answers. And this is where you find out your depth and who are going to be your bell cow guys in the backfield. Because, again, with no Le'Veon Moss going out for the year, I think there are some serious questions about that running game. And, you got Marcel Reed at the quarterback position, but who else is stepping up in regards to being your top ball carriers? I think that's something you could at least start to find the answers to that in this game.
No, you're right. I think it's a limiting injury for Texas A&M. Again, I think it's like what you said, Chris. Coming off the bye week, we didn't really talk about A&M for 2 weeks. Again, they don't really have let's call a spade, a big game this week. So they're kind of out of the spotlight for like a lot of teams feel like that this year with the 2 byes. But anyways, you've already lost Reuben Owens. You've already lost Le'Veon Moss, your 2 backs in fall camp, and now against South Carolina. I mean, it's Amari Daniels, E.J. Smith season now. I mean, like you said, that could be something that could – I think it definitely lowers A&M's ceiling from an overall standpoint after losing Le'Veon Moss. So I'm with you. They're going to develop – find probably a 3rd guy. I mean, who is that? Right now, I don't know, but the top 2 right now at the very least are Amari Daniels and E.J. Smith, and you're going to need them to kind of step up here towards the end of the season.
And you look at this again, Dave, you mentioned – I would say – the new season begins for A&M. And also, too, we've seen the bye weeks significantly, especially, Dave, for whatever reason. And you tell me if you've noticed this. I feel like the second bye week has helped teams out a lot. The first bye week's been kind of hit or miss. I've seen teams come out of the first bye week and be, okay. I've seen them
look at South Carolina.
Seen them play well. The second bye week, I don't know what it is about that second bye week, but we saw South Carolina come out of that second bye week, play really well. We saw Texas come out of that second bye week, play really well last weekend. So, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, Dave, it's an opportunity to reset, recharge, refresh the batteries, and now your new season sort of begins. So, again, you're going to take whatever happens Saturday night with a grain of salt, unless it's like a close ball game, obviously. But I do think, Dave, good opportunity for A&M. You look at it, okay, guys, we got to this point in the season. We like where we stand. Everything's in front of us. This is the start of the new season. Let's build some big-time momentum for Marcel Reed, the running game, the wide receivers. This is an opportunity for everybody to feel good. This is a feel-good game. That's what this is. Jay Bateman and Mike Elko on the defensive side, you would expect them, obviously, to dominate. I mean, again, you look at New Mexico State, and the offensive output has not been great, to say the least. Their quarterback, Marucci, I'm looking at some of their top guys. Marucci at quarterback, Washington, their top ball carrier. But, I mean, again, this game's all about Texas A&M, Dave. It's an opportunity to empty the bench. It's kind of like one of the games we talked about at the beginning of the season, right? Empty the bench, depth game, get a lot of different dudes experience. Maybe there's some guys down the stretch you feel like you're going to need that you want to get some reps out here. And, to your point, longer season, you're going to need that depth. So, and as many guys as you can get work, the better. But also, too, Dave, the opportunity to feel good going into a tricky game at Auburn. Let's not overlook that. I know Auburn's not great. Jordan-Hare at night. We know it's going to be a night game, so that's not one to sleep on. And then, of course, the last game of the season needs no hype up at all with the Texas Longhorns coming to town. So just an opportunity, Dave, for Texas A&M. Brush up on anything. I mean, get a bunch of guys. This is a great recruiting game, Dave, because anytime you can empty the bench, get everybody out there, everybody feels good. It's hey, look, see, we play everybody. You know what I mean? You come here, you're going to get playing time no matter what. So there's a lot of good that can come of it, but obviously, at the end of the day, it's just all about A&M taking care of business.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they mix up kind of the quarterback rotation. Obviously, I think Marcel Reed probably gets the start, but I'm sure they have some plan in with Connor Wigman as well. And then you'll be interested. You really won't know kind of what their long-term plan is, I feel like, at quarterback until they go on the road next week against Auburn and play. I mean, I know Auburn's not good, but you know what I'm saying. That's at least a game they know you can't just go roll the balls out and win. I mean, it's a conference game on the road in a tough environment. I don't care what Auburn's kind of playing for at that point. Again, that's a place you could go struggle. And again, it's a week before the biggest game, biggest home game in years, maybe ever, when you factor in the playoffs and you're just rejuvenating that rivalry against Texas. So, no, you're right. I mean, this is an A&M game. Got a lot of questions. Who's RB3 now? Who steps up RB2? The depth there, quarterback, how it's used. And, again, you always want to get out of these games as healthy as possible.
No doubt. You mentioned the quarterback thing. It is interesting, Dave, because I think anybody who watches A&M and you follow Mike Elko, you know that I think Marcel Reed's the guy. I think you probably think he's the guy, but I think it's it's far from over. I mean, it's the same thing when Marcel Reed got benched. You knew it was just a play away. And so, I mean, listen, if for whatever reason Marcel Reed starts to struggle or, the vertical passing game is struggling, I mean, we could see Connor Wigman reinserted just right there. I mean, it's I don't know. It's a really interesting dynamic, Dave, where I feel like you are the quarterback of now at Texas A&M. I don't feel like they really know, like, who their is it fair to say, Dave, like, who their starter is against Texas is just really going to depend on, like, all right, we're going to come out of the bye week, and whoever plays best the next 2 weeks, that's who's starting against Texas. I mean, it's just like, I don't really know.
They kind of figure it out.
Yeah, like, if I had to bet on who the starter was, I don't know that I could, confidently say one way or the other. I mean, I think I know, but, which, I mean, is a blessing and a curse to a degree. You've got two guys that can go out there and win football games. Again, I think we all agree at this point Marcel Reed is the more dynamic. I mean, we know he's the more dynamic of the two, but I think he gives him the best opportunity to win games. But, how do you come out of the bye? I think this is I think it's almost like an ongoing quarterback battle. It kind of reminds me of like those Spurrier teams back in the day where it was just like,
even in South Carolina and Florida, he goes with the hot hand.
You're more than happy to play two guys, maybe even three if you got a third one. And whoever the hot hand is, that's who you're going to roll with. You know what I mean? So it will be interesting to see how much. I think Reed will start the game. How much do we see Connor Wegman? You obviously want to keep him fresh, keep him sharp, because you never know. You might be calling on him the next week at Auburn if you get off to some sort of sluggish start or you feel like the offense needs a boost or what have you. So it'll be interesting. Dave, let's spare the dramatics. Go ahead and get in the predictions for this one. Again, this game is all about Texas A&M. They are a 39-point favorite in this ball game. How do you see this one playing out in College Station?
Yeah, I think this game ends up being something like, I don't think they're going to show a lot from a scheme standpoint offensively. So A&M's probably going to score a lot, just winning off one-on-one matchups and just athleticism, just overwhelming them from an athleticism standpoint. I think this game should be something like 49-10. I think it's right at that line. Again, I don't think they try to run the score up on these guys. I think they're trying to just get out of it healthy because, as you've seen, I mean, you probably don't have a lot of running backs. They'd love to be seeing a walk-on running back in the fourth quarter in this game. I think that's going to be a go, hey, let's get out early. Let's get our guys almost another second bye week a little bit. Not a bye week, but let's hope they're not playing a lot in the second half. By the middle of the third quarter, we got our guys out heading into our last two games, stretch down the season, trying to make Atlanta for the SEC Championship, college football playoff. I think A&M wins this one like 49-10.
Dave, Fresno State scored 48 on New Mexico State. New Mexico scored 50. Jacksonville State scored 54. Western Kentucky scored 41 last week. So I'm going to go with a little bit higher score. I'm going to go A&M 56, New Mexico State 6. I mean, it really is, Dave, to your point. It's a name your score game. Listen, I know, Shu, you don't have to kid me. I know this is the one you're going to be watching Saturday night, not Georgia, Tennessee. I know how eager you are to watch the Aggies do battle in College Station. No, seriously. Again, I think A&M will roll, like you said, empty the bench. I do think the running back position is interesting. I do think, getting a look at the bodies that are going to be taking over. Like you mentioned, Ruben Owens out before the season even got going. Le'Veon Moss now out for the year. That is something that, I don't care who the opponent is. You at least want to get a look at those guys. You're starting to, kind of figuring out your rotation. I know Mike Elko and company already know they've seen these guys at practice every day, but getting a look at what that's going to be like. So I think that's something if you're a fan of A&M to keep an eye on. But otherwise, I think Texas A&M will roll. I think it's all about, to your point, Dave, depth game. I think if the starters aren't out by the start of the third quarter, I think something probably went wrong. I mean, I think that's probably the kind of game it's going to be because, again, you're not going to risk injury in a game. Like Nick Scorton's not going to play a lot. Like your top guys just aren't going to play a lot. So, yeah, I think it'll be a fun night for the Gig'em Aggies, Texas A&M, 56-6, my final score. So, guys, do you agree with us? Do you disagree? How do you see this one playing out when Texas A&M and New Mexico State do battle on Saturday night? Guys, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in again. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.